Hi, this is AlphaRender. Today we're going to go over the object tool, specifically with exterior renders, so adding, removing, and editing objects within your finished image. Let's get going. So for this mode to be active, you need a fully rendered color result. So when working with 3D model sketches or grayscale previews, this mode will be unavailable. So when you go ahead and import, I've prepared our input image, which will look like this. Press open and you'll see the project pop up right here. Once it's loaded, you can go ahead and rename it however you would like. So today we're specifically looking at the object tool right here on your right-hand side. And when you open it, you can see the three aspects that we can play with, which is add, edit, and remove. So this workflow is also designed specifically for exterior objects, so furniture, outdoor equipment, small architectural details, all that has geometry. It is important to understand that this mode is not primarily for textures. So in some cases, it may affect textures while editing an object, but its direct purpose is to add, remove, and modify objects themselves. So their size, positioning, shape, and geometry, nothing else. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with the remove tool just so we can work backwards. And you can go ahead and use the mask here to mask out the tree up front. You do want to be quite accurate with the mask just to avoid any inaccuracies. There we go. And just so you know, you are welcome to remove multiple objects simultaneously, so you don't have to stick to removing only one object at a time. As you can see here, I will do the second tree. And while we're here, we can use the lasso tool to remove this extra bit above the housing. Perfect. Once you've masked and selected the objects that you want to remove, you can go ahead and press generate. So while we're waiting, we have 1 more minute. I do want to remind you that this software is not really intended for major architectural redesign. So for example, if you want to take this 1-story housing and make it into a 2-story townhouse, I don't think this would be the right tool for that. That may be quite difficult. So we recommend working with global architecture very carefully and in targeted steps, specifically for removing specific elements and objects within your image. All right, the render's in. Let's take a look together. Perfect. As you can see, it's done a great job in removing just the items that we masked specifically. And it changed none of the geometry other than the items that we wanted removed. Okay, so moving on to the next tool, we are gonna look into the add tool. I will get to the edit tool, but let's start with the add. For the add tool, it's a similar workflow. You can see the mask tool here. I'm gonna go ahead with the brush tool, resize it to make it the size of your object. So right here, I will add 2 sunbeds. I want to note that sometimes the software may read object proportions a little incorrectly, so objects can appear slightly larger or smaller than expected, but that can be corrected in the next iteration. So here I've masked where I want the items. You want to go ahead and press plus on the reference, and I've saved some on my Pinterest board, which we do have an integration with Pinterest, so you can find the objects you've saved and add it right there. Once that's added, you can go ahead and press generate. Awesome. So you can use this before and after button here, and it opens this toggle that lets you pull back and forth, and you can really see that the only thing that happened here were the 2 sunbeds added into the image. Now that we've done that, while we're here on this mask, let me go ahead and show you that you can add your own custom references. So if you don't want to go through Pinterest, not everyone does, you can go to custom here, add, and I've already saved the sunbed image here. So if you have one that you have saved in your files, you want to add your own reference, you can go ahead and use this option. Press on it, you'll see it come up here. Again, these were our masks, and you can go ahead and generate. We also have a very useful timer here. So as you can see below on your project, it says generating 238. So it lets you know how long this generation will take. Our second sunbeds are in. Here we go. Again, the before and after will really help you see the additions of the objects that you implemented. Now that we've played with adding sunbeds, I think we can add something to this empty area. I think a barbecue station would be something that we can play with. So you want to go pick one of these. We can go with this one and use the same add tool. Pick a mask. For this, I think I'm going to use the lasso, and I will create a rectangular area where I want the barbecue zone to go. There we go. Again, pick a reference here. I'm going to go on Pinterest. I will find my exterior objects and I can add this barbecue station. Here it is. So again, we've just implemented the object that we want to add to the image right here, and then you go ahead and generate. The barbecue station is complete. As you can see here, it has been perfectly added without changing the rest of the geometry of the image, which is exactly what we're looking for when we're adding objects. While we're here, let's go ahead and add 2 more, just so you can see that you don't have to upload or run one render at a time. You are able to render in multiples. You can go ahead and generate, go back here, and add your final reference. And we generate once more. Perfect. As you can see here below, they're both queued and will be generating in 2.5 minutes or so. I'll see you then. We can see our second and third barbecue areas here. Oh, this is actually a good example of something that happens within the software, because as you can see here, the barbecue area is diagonally placed. So that happens because, if you remember correctly, our reference is diagonally placed. So it does sometimes take the reference and implement it into the image based on that rather than on my mask. So keep that in mind. But of course, that is something we can change with the edit option as well, which we can get to after this. So for now, let's take a look at how cleanly it added the barbecue reference objects. And this was our original one. I also want to remind you there is a favorite button on the bottom here. When you have more and more renders coming through, it's a very useful tool to separate the ones that you want to continue working with. So the next step that we're going to get into is the edit option under the object tool. So I think we can go ahead with this image. I think it's a good choice. And the first thing we can do is edit the windows. So actually, the edit option was originally created for modifying already existing projects. So for example, replacing one object geometry with another. But during testing, we did notice that edit requests can be very different. So they cannot all be reduced to just one button. And that's why if you notice here below, you can see that compared to add and remove, there is an area for a custom prompt. So for this first change, let's go ahead and just use a reference without a custom prompt. And the first thing we can do is mask the window area. I will use the lasso tool for this. I think it's the easiest for this type of geometry. Press in the reference area again. I will use Pinterest as usual, and here I've prepared a reference for the window specifically. You upload those and generate as usual. So we've used the edit tool on the windows, and we can see here how it's implemented the changes. Great. I do want to note here on the right side, you can see that the previous windows were open and the software decided to close them using the reference, which that does happen sometimes. It still stayed true to the general geometry of the image and didn't change anything else, but it did decide to close the window. So you do want to keep that in mind when using your references and when implementing your own personal changes. Now on to the plants. While we're in edit mode, I'm going to use the same mask workflow and mask over the plants in this area. Once you've drawn your mask, you want to go ahead and pick your reference, which again I have saved here. When working with AI, size is sometimes pretty relative and won't be as exact. So this is a good example where you can use a custom prompt to kind of guide the edit in the right direction. So here I will write replace the masked plants with the plants from the reference image while keeping the original plants size, proportions, and placement. So this will give it the direction to use a reference, but because in the reference the plants are a lot larger, to try to maintain them in the same sizing of what we had in the original image, and generate. Our plants have rendered. Let's take a look. Great. Here, using the before and after, you'll see how the plants have changed using the reference I've provided. I want to note that scale is still something that's very relative and is a work in progress in AI in general. So as you can see here, we started with the plants that were quite smaller, but using the reference because in the reference they were larger, they've been implemented in a larger scale. So what we can do here is actually use the same tool we were just using, go to the edit tool again, use the mask, same workflow that we're used to, and go ahead and mask our rendered plants. 2 dots here, as usual, grab these. There we go. I can also actually grab these up here. So once you've masked the plants, this is the opportunity to use the prompt, and you can write, for example, make the plants 2 times smaller. So of course, I like that it used a reference that it implemented, but I want to change the scale, so this is the perfect moment to use that, and then you can go ahead and press generate. Our custom prompt is in. Let's take a look together. Great. Again, using the before and after tool, you can see the difference that was implemented and that it only touched the sizing of the plants. Great, so that was the object tool for exterior renders. We went through the removing, adding, and editing. I hope you found this very useful. If you have any questions for me, drop them below. I'll see you on the next one.